Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business. With advice and insights from the best in the biz, I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. So welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, and today I have a guest, guys, it's going to blow your mind. It's a really interesting conversation. Jon Sexton's with me. He is a serial entrepreneur. He has a real estate company right now in Nashville, Tennessee. He is brilliant. And he's going to talk to us about mindset. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his passion for helping people that work for him, mentoring and servant leadership. And guys, at the very end of the conversation, I'm really excited. We're going to talk about investing. And it's an area that I've dealt with investors, but not like this. So welcome to the show, Jon. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, Lynell. I really do appreciate it. And boy, what a great intro. You gave me chills. Like, I can't wait to hear about him too.
I think this is an excellent conversation. Tell me, Jon, what are you passionate about?
So I grew up, a little backstory, and I'll lead into that. So I grew up with a terminally ill mother. And she was diagnosed with emphysema when I was 8, and she ended up passing when I was 20. So that was 12 years. I kind of saw her kind of a really slow death, and the quality of her life just wasn't there. And ironically, her dad, her 2 brothers, and herself all died of the same thing. So, living a healthy life is very important to me. But I think I just really grew up a nurturer, a caretaker, somebody that really cares about your well-being. And I think that's how I've been able to be sort of successful in the ventures that I've done and through my years of anything from, I owned health clubs for many years, and I started off as one personal trainer and grew it into a brand. And that brand ended up being one of the largest health clubs in the Southeast. And so just, and then in that process, I was able to develop real estate and get into real estate itself. So I think really, and what allows me to be successful, because I have a team, I really care about the team. I love mentoring. I love just any way that I can help enhance someone's life, whether it be in health or just personal growth. I really do love that. And to be frank, I probably could make a lot more. I know I could make a lot more money if I was a solo agent and kind of kept everything, but I invest a lot into them. And, so, but so it's not ever about the money. It's about really just helping others. And that's just kind of who I am.
So you developed a real estate company as opposed to, you don't do rentals. And I looked in that, I was like, oh gosh. But when I looked at it, I was like, okay, so tell me about the TV host part.
Yeah. So the show is called Selling Nashville, and it is on multiple platforms, streaming platforms such as Apple and Travel Channel, HGTV, Tubi, Bloomberg. There's a lot of places it sits, and the series is called The American Dream, and my segment is called Selling Nashville. So you'll see Selling Nashville, Selling Seattle, Selling Austin, whatever. And so it's all about culture, lifestyle, and then a little bit of real estate. So it's real TV, not reality TV. And I have all the autonomy to be able to create the stories, the interviews, the guests. So I just have to show things that I like about my town, and hopefully it translates into the viewers enjoy it.
How much fun is that?
It's a ton of fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I have friends who are very active on social media, and they do their own things, and it promotes their rentals business. Tell me a little bit about owning multiple businesses, the way that you've done. You've actually branched. Like, how did you get from the health clubs over to real estate? How did that translate?
When I moved here in '96, I was pursuing music, and I just said, I'm not going to be a starving artist. I was just committed to that. So I was a college athlete, and I had my certification when I was in California, and I moved to Nashville. Fitness was on the rise. A little fun fact: I was the first person to ever teach a spin class in the state of Tennessee. It was
Wow.
not here yet. Yeah. So the owner of that club, I said, hey, you should do this. You buy the bikes. You can charge per bike, per class, and you'll make your money back in 6 months. He trusted me and he did it, and that's how it all worked out. So, but I came here and I said, and I started my own quote unquote personal training business, which really meant I was contracting my services out of different health clubs, kind of in the West Nashville area at the time. And I ended up getting a waiting list within 8 months, just because I was able to, I talked to everyone. I put myself out there. I would get in front of classes and give things away. And just, I kind of really worked it in a way that maybe others weren't doing it, but I was there to hustle. And I knew that I could do a good job for them. So then I developed a team. And that's when that whole concept, because I've always been a part of a team. The sports that I really love, I've always, always kind of been that. And I was usually, not always, but usually the captain of the team. I was selected. I just had a kind of a passion to help others, and it just turned into more leadership roles. So as that developed, I was pursuing music, and I also became the guy that was booking our shows. But I was the guy that was calling up, getting us gigs. But what I've realized, everybody would go to the clubs that are hard to get into, and they'd give them your CD, and they would say, "Hey, listen how great we are, right? And we'd like to open up for so and so that comes in. I think we would fit well with them." And that was kind of the standard. I would go and say, "We sound really good. When you have a time, listen to it." Our people drink. They wanted to make money, and I knew that. So we would call, drink, 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 drink. We'd be on the stage, make sure that, you tip your bartender, blah, 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 right? Just kind of promoting the club as we're playing. They loved that. Next thing you know, we're in the top club, because it was a rock and roll club. We were playing, open up for some great artists in that club. And next thing you know, we're headlining there. We got a really great following, which led to a record deal down the road, down in years later, which took 5 years to get it. We lost it in 3 months. That was a little disheartening. There's a lot of heartbreak that happens in music.
There
You know,
is. That's for sure.
lots of rejection.
Yeah.
And you learn how to deal with the rejection and continue that positive thought and move forward. And so I was able to create that mindset. And I've always been the guy, the underdog. I'm 5'10" and playing basketball. What am I doing on the court, right? So, but I had the drive. I had that the underdog mentality, and I was very competitive, more so with myself than others. I just wanted to be the best that I could do. And so, because if I'm comparing myself to others in basketball, I could be really bad. That could be an issue because they're up there playing above the rim, and I'm playing from behind, as far as I can, to shoot as far as I can, because I couldn't get inside. So that was kind of, my mindset. So as music sort of, as I realized, okay, I've had enough of this heartbreak, right? I took it, I feel like I took it as far as I could. It translated right into, I had a really good personal training business and was able to transfer that into getting a partner. A guy wanted me to oversee his personal training. I said, well, you got to give me equity if you want me to bring my team and my clients and all that. So I was able to negotiate that and bought them out 5 years later. And then that was in a strip mall in the west side of town. And it was about 14,000 square feet. It was a good little club. But the club that I originally got a job in when I moved to town was a thriving tennis club. It was huge, 85,000 square feet.
Wow.
It was only just a few miles down the road from where my club was. It became a dying tennis club. So I was able to get some people that had some more money than me and invest and buy that club. And we moved our operations over there. So there were it was on 11 acres. The back 6 acres used to be clay courts, but they were no longer clay courts. So they were falling down fences and weeds. And so we saw it totally as a real estate play. So it took 5 years to get that back 6 acres rezoned. Got it approved for 54 townhouses.
Oh, wow.
That's when I got my real estate license.
Okay.
And then I was able to, I was brand new, and the developer said, well, I'll give you 6 of them. And I'm like, okay, I'll take what I can get. And it just kind of took off from there. And that's how I got into the real estate side. And then I was juggling both things. I still had the health club, and I was developing my real estate team. And anyway, so I recently, at the end of 23, I completely got out of fitness and moved into 100% real estate.
Wow. So let me ask you this. You've been named one of the top 50 entrepreneurs in Tennessee. Let's talk about building a business. And
Sure.
there are general, there are general techniques and general processes, no matter what industry you find yourself in, that you really have to follow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first thing you said that really caught my eye. And this is something that I had a friend of mine who is an entrepreneur as well. Had a very successful business. She sold it. She's built some other things, and she's doing consulting now. And she said,
Okay.
Lynell, she said, I've decided that, one of the most important things that I can help, because she's doing business coaching, is in mindset. So let's talk about mindset, Jon.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is important, and how do you define mindset? And let's talk to people about that.
Sure. So I think what's important is to understand what kind of leader you are. All right. And there's a really great book. It's called Rocket Fuel. And have you heard of it?
I have not.
Defines two types of leaders. Now, you can be a little bit of both, but you're either the visionary or the integrator. The visionary is the person that sees it, knows what tools you want to use to get there, but just not really good at implementing things, right? And then there's the integrator. The integrator is that person that can, that can create the processes and implement all of the structure that's involved, and put the right people in the right place. And so I am definitely a visionary. Well, that's what I found out about myself. And I really wish I would have known this earlier on, because I had so many programs and fitness and things that I would launch that were fantastic. However, they didn't go anywhere and I'm thinking, how do people not get this? How does it not get out? I couldn't figure it. What's going on here? Anyway, I realized I just didn't have it implemented very well. And if I would have had a conversation with myself back then, I would have said, you need that integrator, and because you're not that. So knowing who you are, which type of leader you are, is very important to understand that. All right. And then that way, and everybody thinks they're both, but you're not. You can have a little bit, right? But you're not.
No, that's true. I have, and in the vacation rental industry, I'm just going to say, I'm going to throw out two names, guys, that everybody knows. I'm going to throw out Mike Harrington and Stuart Pack. And there you have the visionary, very amazing leader, larger than life. And then you have the integrator, which is Stuart Pack, and he's the CFO. He's the one that puts the structure together and everything. Not that Mike can't, because Mike is a serial entrepreneur on his own. But this is exactly what we're talking about, guys. Mike and Stuart worked together at Resort Realty years ago. And they're just like yin and yang. Then Mike started his own business somewhere else, took Stuart with him, sold that business, and then they're on to other businesses. Yep. And I was talking with Mike like last week, and I said to him, there's this really cool thing that I think is coming down the pike. He said, I think it would be good if I could bring somebody with me to think about this. And I was like, I know, it's Stuart. So you're exactly right. So we talk about mindset. We're talking about determining what we do really well and what those around us have to do really well in order for us to be successful. Is that correct?
Yep. That is absolutely right.
All right. So looking back over building the businesses that you have, tell me what parts of mindset that you think most people don't get. They just don't get. Now, this is really easy. Surrounding yourself with people that do things that you don't do best, they make you better. But what else do we have to think about when you think about businesses and growing them and scaling them?
Sure. Well, I mean, processes and procedures are very, very important, right? And you have to have them, and to make it scalable, right? And whether that be in the training, whether that be in whatever it might be that your business requires, but it's got to be a tight ship, and you have to commit to those processes. Now, granted, it's okay to pivot. Like things are gonna go sideways, and you got to kind of figure out which way do I go? I have pivoted so many times in my career during my 10 years. You have to, because you can become a dinosaur like that with the way that technology is just constantly evolving. So I think it's important to have your processes in place, your procedures in place, but yet pay attention to the trends that are happening at the same time, and make sure that you're not in the crowd, you're ahead of the crowd, and you're the one leading it. So find out who your leaders are, figure out. Also, it's important to have a mentor. I think that's really, really important. I didn't have a mentor. When I bought the health club, I found out what not to do more than what to do. And so, I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and but you learn from them. But and then when we got in our bigger place, I had some partners that were really, really great for me, guys that had a lot of experience in life and businesses and banking. And so I really listened to a lot of what they had to say. Didn't always agree with each other, but it didn't matter. I was always very appreciative of having that. And and so when I got into real estate, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make the same mistake. So I got a coach, and I have a coach that I meet with a couple times a month to check in, and they also coach my team. So I think that's another important aspect to being able to scale is having that mentor or that coach.
A lot of people skip that. I didn't skip that myself either. When I was building my software business, I didn't have a specific mentor. There were men and women in the group that I joined. I joined a business group that, and if you're in the Raleigh area, the Cary area, I know the best business group there is there, if you need to know, as a growing business. But I had a group, and we all got together, and we would present our financials. We would look at the trends that were happening in our business. And these are people that had like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue in their business. And I think that it's really important that you either, like you say, you either have a mentor, a coach, and you allow them to coach your team. And my team, my C-level team, had they also went to there were different levels of group depending on what you did. It's like you said, there's a big difference between being an integrator and a visionary. And although both can be leaders, or the CEO of the company or the COO of the company, they definitely have different skill sets. And there are different, if you join a group, you have a greater chance, a business group, a greater chance of finding someone who really understands what you're doing and can go for it. And those are relationships that are not easily broken.
Are you talking like an EO type of group?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am.
I've not joined one of those groups, but I've heard some great things about it. I have a good friend of mine that's been kind of like, you need to come, but
You should do that. I mean, I think
Mhm.
people I think property management owners, I think they should join groups like that. I had a friend who, in the Outer Banks, and he was a property manager, and he also had one of the same groups that I was in. He was in some of those groups too. They help you grow because, believe it or not, even though they're not the same type of business that you're in,
Right.
it's the same kind of problems. We all go through the same
Totally.
problems
People.
when we're scaling up. Yes, when we're scaling a business, people, cash flow. Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Vision. Where are my goals? Where am I going?
Sure.
And I think that those relationships, guys, if you will invest the time into going and getting a coach, having a mentor, or joining one of those groups like that, it pays you back. It really does. So,
Yeah.
other than a mentor and the processes and procedures, what other advice would you give to people looking to scale their business, Jon?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, those are really a main thing, but also marketing is extremely important. You're right. You have to look at yourself as a marketer, and if you're not great at that, figure out people that are, because your brand and who you are is tied to whatever business you're doing. So personal branding is very important for myself. I have done a pretty good job of that. And I think being a musician, and you have to kind of have that mindset. So I had an advantage to a lot of that. But, I've got a large Instagram following. And I have, my TV show. So I look at myself as sort of a multimedia sort of business. Hmm. But that happens to be in the real estate space, right? And that's how I see it, and which is really valuable for my team, because you have to hold value to those around you, right? And so being able to provide things that maybe others don't have yet, such as the marketing skills is very important, and all the other things that come along with it is they're going to see value to that because they can connect to that. For instance, on my team, I want my people to not just tag me, but to collaborate with me. And so that way their viewer, normally they'd maybe get 300 views, where with mine, they're going to get, you know, 12 to 20,000 views off of that same post. And that's important to them. It's important to the business. It's important for their growth. It's important for their brand. And I'm a little bit unique in the way that I run my team, where most teams really want the team lead, such as myself. Like, I didn't name it the Jon Sexton team, because if you call up, you were on my team, you said, "This is Lynell Gordon, I'm with the Jon Sexton team." What are they going to say? Well, why isn't Jon calling me? Right? That makes you secondary. I want you to be primary. So I call it Nashville home. And so and also team leads, typically when someone closes a deal, the team lead gets all of the volume credit. So it's a $2 million listing, and you listed it under my team, I would get the credit at the end because it puts my name at the top of the list. I don't care about that. I want you to get the two. I want you to get the recognition. I want you to be the superstar, right? And I'm really cheering you on and giving you all as many tools as I can for that. So having that passion for others and giving them value, and you have to serve others for that. And I think that's important, but it's hard to balance that from because you're either in the weeds or you're out. And being in the weeds means you're working in the business versus on the business, right? So I think that you've got to figure out a way, because at some point I want to get out of production as an agent and just run it all, because I've got other ancillary services I want to add, like mortgage and title and insurance and stuff down the road, which I'm working towards. But I think that's very important that you figure out a way to have that balance on how you can work on it versus in it. And it doesn't
So
happen right away. It takes time.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Blue Tent. Blue Tent is proud to offer digital marketing solutions for vacation rental professionals. Expand your visibility to new travelers and book more guests with the team at Blue Tent, featuring direct booking sites, email marketing, digital marketing, channel management, and more. Discover what Blue Tent can do for your short-term rentals at bluetent.com.
So you're looking for ancillary revenue with different pieces, and obviously you're one of those who is a very good servant leader. You're going to dig in with your whole team, but you really do care about helping others. I mean, obviously that's something that's a passion of yours, because you've mentioned it many times. And I think that some of the most successful people that I've seen in our businesses are exactly that. You know, they're really servant leadership. They care so much about their guest, about their homeowners, and about the people that work for them, that it makes such a strong team. I think about people like Brian Olson and my sister Rochelle Hobbs, who put together teams that are very strong, and they're very oriented towards helping the other person as opposed to helping yourself. And look, when I first got into business, one of the first things, I think I must have read a book, or I don't know, maybe it was a video or something. And I read that never hire anybody that's not smarter than you. And I thought, okay, let me just start with that premise, and we'll do.
Yeah.
So we did testing for people that we hired. We didn't hire anyone without having personality testing. That we actually did some IQ testing as well, which I think was very helpful. I had some of the smartest, most amazing people working for me. Still love them, even after I've sold the business. And two of the people that were, on my C-suite, they're still working for the company that purchased me, and they are doing killer stuff there. Just so smart. I started a real estate company myself, 2015, and
Okay.
loved it. It was my favorite thing I've ever done. Selling real estate. Loved listing houses.
Yeah.
I loved
It's a
cold
lot.
calling. I mean, I
You
just love.
do.
I do.
You
I
want to
do.
come join my team? And can I get you to join me? Please. I'll make you an ISA. We'll figure it out.
I had my own little place in my house, and all around me were all the scripts. I'm still really good friends with people that we practice scripts with. Those cold calling scripts, that all the classes you took for that, they were so much fun to me. Like, I don't know a stranger, never met a stranger in my
I
life.
love that.
And that
Yep.
does a lot, it opens up a lot of opportunity for me, but
Yep.
it also, it also makes it, I think it makes it more difficult to, I don't know, because I don't care if you reject me or not. I know that round the corner someone won't. And I
Yeah.
think when we talk about mindset and we talk about business, I
Yep.
think for me, you're passionate about helping people, and so am I. And I really felt like, and still do feel like, people who sell real estate, people who rent real estate, vacation rental managers, those type of people, they are helping so many people.
Yeah.
So who cares if you
Totally.
get rejected by 10 and you get one? Who cares? You're helping that one person. And the same thing with vacation rentals. You're helping those people create memories for the rest of their lives. And when you're
Yeah.
selling a house, you think about it, that is probably the largest transaction they'll ever have in their life. And you help them do
Or
that.
if it's not, because I do a lot of luxury, it's the most important. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's all in how we think about our job,
Yep.
what makes it so much fun. And I think that if more of us really realize that rejection is not the worst thing that could happen to you, because you're helping people in what you do. Like, even in
Yep.
customer service, the people that are doing the reservations, taking reservations, or the ISA, people that are actually the transaction agents that are doing that.
Yep.
My goodness, what a blessing they are to our industry.
Oh, no doubt.
And
No doubt.
how valuable is a good transaction analyst? Someone who will do all the paperwork for you.
I need that, and I have that. Uh-huh.
I did too. I don't think you could be successful in business without having that person, like you were talking about, processes and procedures. So
Yep.
you could put those in place even as an integrator, but having someone that actually manages that and makes it happen. I want to know what's happening in the real estate agents, the real estate in sales right now. What do you think is happening across the country right now with listing and buying?
Sure. So I think I will say that I'm pretty fortunate to be where I am, because it's a little bit insulated, because we're one of the top relocating cities in the Nashville area in the country. So we have like Oracle's moving their headquarters here, In-N-Out Burger's moving their headquarters here. I mean, it's just everyone's moving here, right? We've got 40 high rises planned downtown. I mean, it's just growing like crazy. Again, I've been here since '96, so I've been able to kind of grow up with the city. It's been a lot of fun. I don't mind the growth. Traffic, it's not. I've been in LA. It's awful. It's not there yet, but it's still, you still get stuck in it, but it's nothing like that. It is definitely still a buyer's market. And I say that because listings are taking longer than than they have been in the past, though the buyer confidence is coming back, because the rates, I think everyone's kind of adjusted, and the rates went up 3 times yesterday.
I
I
could
mean,
not believe that.
I know, but it's just kind of the way it is, and I think people are starting to realize, I got to stop waiting. I've got to go. You have to move at some point, right? And you have to, renting is paying 100% of someone else's mortgage. So, when you're a buyer, right? So there's the reason why it's really a great time to buy is, as you say, you date the rate, you marry the house, and our buyers usually don't pay today's rates, because there are so many seller concessions that we can negotiate to help the renter do buy downs. So, and those buy downs can be temporary buy downs, like what's called a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 buy down, or a permanent buy down. Now, I will tell you, I'll use a 2-1 buy down to be an example. So if the rate is at 7% today, and you get the seller to pay towards your buy down, year one you're at 5%, year two you're at 6%, and year three you're back at that 7%. Now, what's really interesting that a lot of people don't realize is that, say the rates drop to where you want to refinance within those 2 years. Well, that money that was put into basically like an escrow account that every month, buys down that rate. Whatever money is left in that account, when you refinance, it's yours. So you actually get cash in your pocket. It's a really great program. So, and you're better off because about every $10,000 you borrow is roughly at this point today is about $75 a month. Okay. So instead of asking for $20,000 off the asking price, okay, then you're better off asking for $20,000 towards your buy down, because that can save you. I will tell you, I bought my home in November. I had it built. It's saving me $2,000 a month off
Wow.
the buy down. Yeah.
Wow.
And then next year will be about $1,200 a month, and then after that I'll be at my normal rate. So I can save you thousands of dollars, right? Versus, $150 a month, right? So that's why it's a very important to understand and be educated on how to purchase and how to leverage all of that, because to the seller, that $20,000, like they would probably take that $20,000 off, depending on the price point. But just say, it's at 800 and you offer 780 and you work, that's a mark there. Or you give them the 800 and they give you the 20. It's the same net. So to them, it doesn't matter. And typically, a good listing agent, will provide a net sheet ahead of time to show them what all the expenses are and figure out how much they're going to net at the end. I reverse engineer that. So let's start with here and let's price. Let's factor in the commissions that are involved, and let's factor in all the taxes, the prorated taxes, and the title expenses. Let's factor all that in. Then let's put the price up top. Make sure it makes sense with all the comps around us. And if it does, then let's adjust it accordingly. So a good listing agent has already done that, right?
Oh yeah.
So
you have a form. Yeah, every single time
Yeah.
you do a listing presentation, that comes with. Yes, of course.
it should.
Yes.
Doesn't always. You'd be
should.
surprised.
No, it definitely should.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, the successful listing agents. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
right now, again, it's a great buyer. Now it's still slower in other parts of the country. They're staying on there, 65, 90, 120 days. In Nashville, we're moving a little bit quicker than that. Not all, but most.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So the buyer, the sum is that the buyer's confidence has returned.
no, I believe that too. We just did
Investments are a little harder.
yeah.
They're a little more challenging
Let's talk about that.
because I have a lot of investors, and though rent has gone up, which is good for the investor, but because the rates are if they're not cash investors, the rates are so high, because you typically on an investor loan you're paying a higher rate. So to get the numbers to even out is hard. So the cash flow game is not as attractive as it used to be. However, where we are, the appreciation is still skyrocketing. It's still doing a great job. So when I am presenting something to somebody, I really use the appreciation conversation and let them say that, let's break even. You might even take a little bit of a loss, but there's all kinds of ways to, if it's a short-term rental, you do a cost seg, and hopefully they're W-2 employee and then get that big tax benefit off of that. But if not, if it's a longer term play, then there's all kinds of benefits on the tax side that they can gain. However, the appreciation, it's like taking money out of one savings account and putting it into another, but most likely you're going to get a lot more of money
Return.
or return investing into the real estate. So, and it's what's the worst case scenario? You got to sell it, right?
That's true. And I told my husband, for the first time, I can tell you, for the first time in 5 years, 5 years since I bought my long-term rental, I'm cash positive. I'm cash flow positive with everything now.
Good for you.
I mean,
Very
because
nice.
rent has gone up, you know,
Yep.
and the other thing about those types of rentals is it's in a really great location. It's kind of, there are certain markets in the US, guys, that John has talked about it. I'm sure he'll be happy to talk to you after, if you get in
Absolutely.
touch with him. But there are certain markets that are insulated in the US,
Yep.
in certain areas. And
Yep.
mine's in that area. And so I'm really fortunate that it's a big tech area. So my
Yeah.
long-term rental, I said to my agent, I have a company that manages. She's so sweet. We're so lucky to make friends in this business, but she does long-term rentals for herself. She and her husband turn over houses and they do that. And so
I
I was
see.
like, would you please manage mine? She's like, yes. I was like, okay, then that's great.
That's great.
And she, I said to her in the fall, this spring, I was like, I was thinking about selling. And she's like, but we just got a new contract on it. And I thought, yeah, but I'm thinking about selling to an investor. And then I got to thinking about what you were talking about with cash flow game and the appreciation game. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know that that's my best buyer for
Yeah.
this, for this home. I'll have to really rethink that. So I was like, yeah, let's
Yep.
don't talk about it until I think a little bit more about it. So tell me, what are
Yeah.
investors doing with this 7%, or they're buying cash? I mean, if they're buying cash, it's one
Sure.
thing.
Well, let me tell you my little secret. It's not gonna be a big secret anymore, but when I get investors, I like to play the high rise game. Okay. And what this is that basically is you get in pre-sale, right? And what you do is I think it's important to get a corner unit. Those are always the most desirable.
Mine's
And
a
there's what's
corner
called
unit. I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a stack. So let's just say between floors 15 and 28, they're all 2 bedrooms and they're the exact same floor plan. The only difference is what color's the floor and the cabinets, but they alternate, right? That's typically how they work that. So you've got a stack, and so say the top floor is the 28. So say we get you in the mid range, so like around 21st floor. Well, when that stack sells out and it's closed on, guess where your equity starts? Your price is now whatever that highest. So the 28th floor, whatever that closed at, that's where you get to start. Okay.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, it's all sold out. Because typically they sell out. Once it's all sold out, especially that stack, a corner unit, great. You want that great view. We've been very strategic about that. Then you can turn around. Now, some developers have rules. Some of them, they'll let you flip it right away. Others, like we had at the Four Seasons, you had one of two things had to happen. Either the entire building had to be closed, or you had your unit for a year before you can sell it. You can sell it, but they get a huge percentage of the gross. So nobody was going to do that. Well, luckily the Four Seasons sold out really quick, worked out. But I'm going to give you an example. We had one that was exactly what I talked about. I think it was about the 20th floor, and closed on February 1st, and I think that was 22. And at 900 and I think it was 935,000.
So the interest rates in 22 were about 3.5, maybe 3.5.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But we flipped it. We put it on the market for 1.3, and we had it sold closed by the 28th of that month.
By February. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
It closed on February 22nd, and you turned around.
No. February. No. Of 22. February 1st of 22. Yeah. That same month, we closed at 1.3. Yep. Took that 1031 exchange we moved to another building. Same thing. Well, this one was 2.44. 6 months later, sold it for 285.
Okay, I'm coming.
1031 exchange moved it over.
We need to go play a little bit of that. Is that still working?
It does. Maybe not to that extent, but yes, it 100% is.
Really?
So it's a really great play, and this is the town to do it. And the good news is I'm very connected downtown. I've bought and sold a lot in the Four Seasons, and we have one called the Paramount, which I did one of my TV episodes on. It's going to be 60 stories, which is the largest, the tallest building in Nashville. And the residence floors start on the 40th floor. The top of the Four Seasons is the 40th floor, if that tells you anything. So it's just,
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
it's just being strategic and knowing, and getting in early. And so here's the thing is you got to park your money for a little bit, right? You got to put your down payment down, but it sits there. But you have to remember, while it's sitting there, other things are being built. And so that appreciation is just continuing to grow. So it's a really, really, really great investment, really game to play. So I'm really good at this. And so we have it's always been successful.
That's a really great strategy. Is there anything else you want to say to property managers or people that are listening?
Just, here's the thing is, I think it's just so important. I think whatever you have in mind is important. It's important to you. And it's just important that you actually take the next step. Remember the person that that have won, they were a loser that tried one more time. Right? So just keep trying. And at some point you'll win. I promise. Just believe in yourself and just keep doing what you're doing, and just stay positive. And, and if you're not sure, get some help.
I love that because it's so true. How many times have we told our children, you're going to fail. It's okay. You're going to fail.
Yep.
You just have to do it again. Just get up and do it again.
Exactly.
John, if people want to reach out to you, they have questions, would you be willing to talk to them?
Absolutely. Very much so. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, so how would they reach you?
Yeah, so it's easy to find my information online. You're welcome to find my phone number and call me, text me. But you'll be very successful going to my Instagram, which is jon.sexton, SEXTON. So there's that. Nashville Home Agents, AGENTS, is a way to look at my real estate company. YouTube, if you want to see my TV show. If you want to just find it quickly, it's on my YouTube channel, which is jon.sexton. And so there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me.
That's excellent. Thank you for being willing to do that. I do appreciate that. I'm so
Absolutely.
grateful for the people that come on the show that are so giving of themselves and of their time and of their expertise. Jon, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And listen, when I get a gazillion dollars, when I get a couple of $1 million, I'll reach out. We're going to do that high-rise thing. That just sounds like
it doesn't take like
that 1 year of capital gain. It's like you need that 1 year and 1 day.
Yeah.
For that long-term capital gain, just say, or the 1031 exchange, I guess.
That's what we do. We just 1031 into the next one that's coming.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. 1031s are easy. They really are.
Agreed.
And hopefully
agreed.
we see some difference in our long-term capital gains in 2025.
That's what I hear.
I heard too. We'll see.
This episode of How We Grow was brought to you by Blue Tent Marketing. To find out more about how Blue Tent Marketing can help grow your vacation rental business, visit bluetent.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.